Hello everybody, and welcome to my basement. This is my old chop saw. It's a Craftsman limited edition 10-inch compound miter saw. Limited edition. It has recently taken a tumble and is broken. An attempt to fix it, because who doesn't need two chop saws, but I did actually just buy a replacement for this. It is a Delta model 36220C 10-inch compound miter saw, and I believe that this means it was built in '92, but I could be wrong. Write down below if you know better than me. That, however, is where the similarities end. First of all, this thing is really heavy. This base, the fence, all this heavy cast. That may not work for everybody, especially if you have to move it a lot. But I plan on setting this up in a semi-permanent residency in my garage. I will also note that the fits and clearances of this saw seem better than the Craftsman it is replacing. This should result in better accuracy. Another nice feature that you won't find on any modern saw is a fully retractable blade guard. It goes away. And you can pop it back. Makes adjusting the blade easier. Not recommended to operate without the blade guard, but when you're changing the blade, getting it completely out of the way without having to use any tools is nice. And now a very important lesson I've learned about old tools and adding them to your workflow. Even if you know the history of the tool, always give it a once-over. If you do not, in my experience, your best case scenario is that the tool will not function to your standards. The worst case scenario is that you'll hurt yourself. So this video is intended to show the process I go through when I onboard a used tool into my workflow. The first thing I always check is the power cord. I check the plug to make sure it's in good shape. I check the cord to make sure it's not frayed. And I check it all the way back to where it terminates at the tool. Furthermore, if you notice that you have a 2-prong plug instead of a 3-prong plug with the grounding pin, you want to make sure that you see this logo. The square inside this square means that this tool is double insulated, meaning the risk of you being electrocuted if the tool shorts out has been worked out. If you cannot find the double insulated logo and your machine has a 2-prong plug, I would highly recommend that you properly ground the chassis of the machine. This will prevent you from becoming the path to ground in the event of a failure. The machine should be cleaned so you can properly assess it to identify any potential points of failure. Check all the joints of articulation for freedom of movement. If anything seems to be binding, now is the time to take a look at it. Make sure that all safety guards are in place and properly functioning. The next thing you're going to want to do is zero your miter gauge. Then you're going to want to check that zero for 90 degrees using a square that you trust. You can see mine's out. That means I have to set the fence so the blade moves a little bit that way to get zero. To square this blade up, I need this part of the fence to move slightly this way. We do this by loosening this bolt and adjusting these grub screws. They give you one in the front and one in the back, probably to determine whether you want it pulled out or pushed back. You can set stops, whatever. So all I'm going to do, you don't have to move it a lot. We're going to start with a half a turn back on the grub screw. We then loosen off this guy, 3/4 inch. Comes real easy. You want to make sure it's kind of just touching. Then we give it a tap with a soft mallet. Recheck for square. And realize you may have moved it the wrong way because it seems a little worse. stop and think about it, ponder for a bit, and yeah, try again until you are successful. Next, you're going to want to check the right angle in the vertical direction, the x-axis. Actually, that would be the z-axis, wouldn't it? It is set by this little screw right here. Basically, that sets your stop. It's hard to see, but mine's just a tiny bit out at the bottom. So that means I gotta tilt the saw a bit more this way. That means I'm gonna want to back this out just a little, just to allow the saw to go ever so slightly more that way. Their inspection reveals that this is a grub screw with a nut and not a bolt, and that's how they achieved the locking feature on it. After you're done with that, I like to give it a couple tests. I could just kind of slide it over and back and check for square each time. Seems to be pretty good. Definitely within my tolerance for error on something like this. After you've done all that, the only thing left to do is a test cut. That was a dull blade. Another thing you should probably do is change the blade. But I will say, that's pretty good. And this was our reference face on the saw. That's pretty good as well. Again, not going to match any of the $1,000 saws out there, but for 40 bucks, this will cut hardwood flooring really easily. So I would consider this tool checked out. One thing, with it being a 30-year-old saw, this is where the brushes are. Look up how to change brushes on a power tool, and I would recommend doing that, just because of its age. I will get a fresh blade on this, maybe give it a wipe of paste wax to keep it from rusting, and this tool should be able to provide me with several years of really quality work. Also mention for the test cut, this is maple, so it's a hard maple flooring. So with the new blade, get a proper blade for cutting something like this, it should function a lot better. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed the video review and demo of this saw, as well as what I do when I onboard a new tool into my workflow. Some people will tear these things down to pieces, go over every nut and bolt, and make it like new. However, with a little effort and some sweat equity, you can turn a fairly inexpensive barn find tool into a valuable member of your workshop. So again, this is my process. If you have any other ideas, please post them below in the comments section. I would love to hear them. Think I'm overlooking anything important as well, please comment below in the comments section. I love to learn. And if you would like to see more videos on this type of subject, please like and subscribe, because that will indicate to me that there's value added in this content. As always, thanks for watching, and stay tuned.